Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down Chapter 45, Before the Storm.
And what a fitting title. The sky is clear for now, but we just heard the thunder rolling in from a long way off.
A long way off is right, but it's coming. We got a number dropped on us this chapter that just reset the power scale for the entire East Blue. It's one of those moments where Oda just yanks the tablecloth out from under you, and you realize the dinner party you thought you were at is actually a war council.
5,000 men.
50 fleets. 50! That's not a pirate crew, that's an armada. Don Krieg is coming. We thought Arlong was the big bad of the sea, the final boss of the East Blue. Oda just told us to hold his beer. If you're as fired up for the coming battle as we are, make sure you're following the pod wherever you listen. You're gonna want to be here when that fleet shows up on the horizon.
Let's get into it. The chapter picks up right after Sanji fed the starving Jin, defying his fellow cook Patty and upholding his personal code.
And Luffy, being Luffy, is just in awe. He's not thinking about the danger. He's not thinking about the rules of the restaurant. He just saw Sanji save a man's life with a plate of food, and his immediate thought, the only logical conclusion for him, is, you have to join my crew. No hesitation.
It's his core principle, and we're seeing it crystallize here. With Zoro, he saw strength and a kindred spirit and ambition. With Nami, he saw a vital skill he needed. With Sanji, he sees strength, yes, but he's primarily reacting to an act of profound, unwavering kindness. He wants that goodness on his ship.
It's like he has a checklist, but the only box is, are you a good person deep down? And maybe a secondary box for, can you do something cool? Sanji checks both with a gold star, and Luffy's offer is so simple, so direct. He's not trying to woo him or sell him on the dream. He just states it as a fact. I've decided. You're going to be our cook.
It's that confidence that throws people off. But Sanji's refusal is just as immediate, and I think the specific wording is crucial.
It is, and Sanji's refusal is just as fast. I can't. Not I won't, but I can't. There's a reason. I won't is a choice. I can't is a prison. He feels fundamentally unable to leave.
It speaks to a deep sense of obligation that he can't simply choose to ignore. He lays it out right away, but only the surface level of it. He tells Luffy this restaurant, the Baratie, is Zeff's treasure. He explains that Zeff used to be a pirate captain himself, and from the way Sanji talks about him, he sounds like he was a pretty famous one.
We also see he has a peg leg. The implication of that is not great. How does a pirate captain lose his leg? It immediately paints a picture of the kind of life Zeff lived. This isn't some small-time crook. This was a legitimate pirate who probably saw some serious action.
It adds weight to his presence, and Sanji isn't just protecting some old man's diner. He's protecting the legacy of a great pirate, a man who built something new after his pirate life.
And not just Zeff. All the cooks are pirate types. I love that detail. This isn't just a restaurant on the sea. It's a haven for Buccaneers who ran out of road. It's a halfway house for Buccaneers. They're all tough, they're all fighters, which is why they can operate in a place frequented by pirates without getting robbed blind every single day.
It reframes the whole establishment. It's not a gimmick, it's a functional fortress staffed by people who know exactly how to handle the clientele because they are the clientele. This is a place built on a shared, violent history. There's an unspoken understanding among everyone who works there. They've all seen things. They've probably done things. And now they cook. There's a poetry to that.
It's incredible world building. Think about it. This is the only place we've seen so far that exists as a neutral zone in the chaotic sea. It's not marine controlled. It's not a pirate's territory. It's its own sovereign state, and its sovereignty is maintained by the fact that every single employee can and will beat the crap out of you if you start something. Its defense system is its staff.
Exactly, which is why the regular waiters all quit. They weren't part of that culture. They were just civilians who stumbled into a nest of vipers.
Exactly. It's perfect. It also makes you wonder why Zeff was trying to get Luffy to work for a year to pay off his debt. I don't think it was just about the money or the damage. Maybe Zeff is a rich man. Who knows? I feel like he was testing him, seeing if he had the grit to stick around in this environment. He was sizing him up from the moment he crashed through the roof.
And Luffy, hearing all this history, this deep-seated obligation, just repeats his offer. He's not deterred at all. He hears, "This place is important to you, and you feel a sense of duty to this legendary pirate," and he just goes, "Okay, so you want to be a pirate with me?"
He just cuts right through the noise. He doesn't see obstacles, he sees a person he wants on his team. But Sanji still refuses, and he won't say the real why. He can't articulate that debt he feels to Zeff just yet. It's clearly more than just a job. It's something deeply personal and painful.
Then Gin speaks up, an officer of the Krieg pirates, asking Luffy about his dream. This is a pivotal moment. He's just been saved, shown an act of pure compassion, and now he turns his attention to the strange straw-hatted boy who seems to be the catalyst for everything.
Luffy, with his whole chest, says he's gonna find the One Piece and become king of the pirates. Same as he told Kobe, same as he'll tell anyone. No shame, no doubt. He says it like he's telling you the sky is blue. It's just a fact of his existence.
And Gin's reaction is fascinating. He doesn't laugh, he doesn't mock him, he doesn't have the cynical reaction of a hardened pirate. He gives him a serious, almost desperate warning. Don't go to the Grand Line.
This is a guy from a crew that's supposedly the most powerful in the East Blue, a crew with a 5,000-man armada, and he's telling Luffy to turn back. He sounds traumatized. He admits he doesn't know that much about it, but what he saw was enough to break him and his entire fleet. The terror is still fresh in his voice.
It's the first time we've heard a warning like this from a peer. Shanks warned Luffy as a mentor, a figure of authority setting a goal for the future. But this is a fellow pirate from the same sea telling him the dream is impossible. It's a death sentence. Gin is a contemporary, and he's a survivor of the very thing Luffy is charging towards.
That hits different. It really does. It's not a challenge, it's a plea. It makes the Grand Line feel less like a destination and more like a monster that eats ships. It really gives you goosebumps. What could have possibly happened to a 50-ship fleet that reduced them to one broken vessel and a starving crew?
We don't know yet, but the implication is terrifying. It suggests that overwhelming numbers, the very thing that made Krieg the ruler of the East Blue, mean absolutely nothing on the Grand Line. Power is calculated differently there.
Meanwhile, back in the kitchen, things are less philosophical and a lot more heated. The pots and pans are flying.
Patty is getting chewed out by the other cooks for how he treated Gin. And this is where we see that the Baratie's haven status isn't a universally agreed upon policy. It's a point of internal conflict.
And man, I love the design of these guys. They all look like they've lived a hard life at sea. Scars, tattoos, missing teeth. They look like the pirates they used to be, just wearing aprons now.
We get a name for one of them, Karn. He's the one who points out that Patty's actions could bring the wrath of Don Krieg down on them. He's the pragmatist. He's not arguing from a moral standpoint like Sanji. He's arguing from a tactical one. Don't poke the giant metal-clad bear.
And this is where Oda just casually drops the bomb on us. This is where we get the numbers. Karn isn't just worried about some angry pirate captain showing up. He's worried about a literal army.
Don Krieg isn't just a captain. He commands a whole armada. 50 ships, 5,000 men.
You can't even process that. Let's put this in perspective. Buggy had a handful of guys and a decent-sized ship. Kuro had maybe 100 pirates in his crew, and that felt like a huge force taking over a village. This is an exponential leap in scale. This is a military force. How does one man command that much loyalty and power in the East Blue?
That's the question, isn't it? It suggests a level of conquest and control we haven't even considered. He's not just a pirate, he's a warlord. He must have conquered islands, absorbed other crews. He built an empire in this sea. It makes him sound less like a pirate captain and more like a naval commander.
And Patty is just not scared. He's like, so what? He's got that B-tier villain confidence. He says giving free food to every pirate who washes up would ruin their business. And besides, they're the fighting cooks of the Baratie. They've handled pirates before. He's got so much pride in their restaurant's reputation.
The pride in that title is palpable. Fighting cooks. It's their identity. But Karn throws his own logic back at him, pointing out that his tough guy attitude is what made all the waiters quit. He's essentially saying, your pride is bad for business and is going to get us all killed.
The tension is so good. You can feel the history between these guys. They're ready to throw down right there in the kitchen over restaurant policy. And then Zeff appears, out of nowhere, like a ghost.
He doesn't even have to raise his voice. He just stands there. His presence is enough to quell the entire argument. He has their respect even when they're at each other's throats. All it takes is a quiet word from him and the fight is over.
The authority of a true captain. He doesn't need to shout. His crew, even his former crew, knows that when he speaks, you listen. That's earned respect, not fear.
Back outside, Luffy and Sanji are saying goodbye to Gin. It's a surprisingly tender moment. Gin seems truly grateful, and you get the sense of genuine human connection between two pirates who should be enemies.
And Sanji plays it so cool, he just brushes it off. As Zeff comes out to yell at them to get back to work, Sanji just casually flips the plate he served Gin on into the ocean. Just a flick of the wrist.
Removing the proof.
Such a perfect Sanji moment. It's not just about hiding it from Zeff, it's a statement. The act of kindness is what mattered. I don't need acknowledgement or thanks. The deed is done. It's so effortlessly smooth. He's got this suave, detached exterior that hides the fact he's probably the most compassionate person in the room besides Luffy.
He operates on his own code, completely independent of what anyone else thinks. The only opinion that seems to matter to him is Zeff's, and even then, he'll defy him to do what he believes is right. That internal conflict is the core of his character right now.
So now Luffy is officially chore boy number 1, and his first act as chore boy is to immediately break a massive stack of dishes.
Of course it is. He has 2 modes, fighting with incredible precision and being a clumsy oaf. There is no in-between. It's almost as if his fine motor skills only activate when punching is involved.
Patty is rightfully furious. He's already mad at Luffy for being the source of all this trouble, and now the kid can't even wash a dish without causing a bunch of damage. He decides Luffy is too much of a liability in the kitchen, so he sends him out to be a waiter.
Which leads to maybe the funniest scene in the manga, a perfect moment of levity before the titular storm arrives.
Oh, absolutely. Luffy storms into the dining hall, wearing a little waiter's uniform, ready to work, only to find his crew and Nami sitting at a table, kicking back and ordering drinks like they're on vacation.
The look on his face, the sheer utter betrayal. He's been working his rubber butt off, getting into fights, taking on a year of indentured servitude to pay for the damage to the restaurant, and his crew is just chilling. They're running up his tab.
It's the best. The rest of the crew is just lounging around, completely unbothered, while Luffy is about to explode. It's a perfect snapshot of the early Straw Hats.
And then Sanji walks in, and the entire tone of the manga shifts on a dime.
And everything changes. He lays eyes on Nami and it's like a bolt of lightning hit him. He goes into this full-on poetic monologue about the cruel sea of love and the merciless waves of reality and the cruel obstacles standing between them.
He has it bad immediately. We saw him as this cool professional, but this is different. This is his entire demeanor shifting in a second. His professional cool is gone.
He's a completely different person. All that cool, detached swagger is gone. He's just completely fawning over her.
And just as he's in the middle of his romantic declaration, Zeff shows up out of nowhere and cuts him off.
Out of nowhere, Zeff just materializes to shut him down. But what he says next is the real kicker. It's not just about him slacking off.
He tells Sanji he can go, that if he wants to be a pirate, he should just go because he's not needed at the Baratie.
It's so harsh on the surface. He basically fires him. But coming from Zeff, after everything we've just learned about their dynamic, you know there's something else going on. This isn't just him being a grumpy old man.
Okay, but think about what this means from Zeff's perspective. He's an old pirate captain. He understands people. He's been watching Sanji. He knows Sanji has a bigger dream. He knows Sanji feels trapped by a sense of obligation. Then this kid in a straw hat shows up, full of life and with that same impossible dream, and he wants Sanji as his cook. And now Zeff sees Sanji instantly connect with a member of that crew. He sees the spark.
He's giving him permission. He's cutting the cord. He's basically saying, I'm releasing you from your self-imposed prison. Your debt is paid. Go live your life. But he can't say it like that. Sanji would never accept it. His pride wouldn't allow him to accept charity or feel like he was being let off the hook.
Exactly. It's tough love in its purest form. He knows Sanji would never leave if he felt like he was abandoning Zeff. So Zeff is making it seem like he's the one abandoning Sanji. He's manufacturing a conflict to give Sanji an excuse to leave. You're not leaving me. I'm kicking you out. It's a strategic move from a former pirate captain who knows how to manage his crew, even when his goal is to make them leave.
It's brilliant. It's the only way Sanji would ever let himself be free. What a testament to their relationship. All that history, all that unspoken love and respect is packed into one gruff, mean-spirited comment. Zeff is trying to save Sanji from himself.
And while all of this emotional, psychological drama is unfolding at the Baratie, we cut back to the sea. The tone shifts again, back to the dread.
Yeah, we do. Jin has made it back to his ship, or at least what's left of it. From the looks of it, it's a wreck. It must have been through hell to have barely crawled out.
He finds his captain, and we only see him in silhouette, a hulking figure with elaborate, almost knight-like armor, complete with massive shoulder pauldrons and a massive cape. He's a giant of a man.
The silhouette is so imposing. Oda is a master at this. He builds the legend before he shows you the face. We've heard the number, 50 ships, 5,000 men, and now we see the shadow of the man who commands them. It's enough to give you chills. This isn't a scrappy brawler like Luffy. This is a commander.
Jin, weak and exhausted, falls to his knees before his captain. He tells Don Krieg that he found a place, a restaurant on the sea where they can rest, get food, and regroup.
No, bro, he's not just telling him about a restaurant. He's leading that monster right to Sanji's front door. He's bringing the storm with him. The man who saved his life, Jin is about to repay that kindness by leading an army to his doorstep.
The man Sanji saved out of pure, unconditional kindness is now, unintentionally, leading a 5,000-man army to the place Sanji has sworn to protect. It's a perfect, tragic setup.
The irony is brutal. Sanji's greatest act of compassion in this arc is about to become his biggest liability. That is some spectacular writing. It sets the stakes so perfectly. This isn't just going to be a fight, it's going to be a siege. The Baratie isn't just a restaurant anymore. It's a fortress about to be attacked by an overwhelming force.
And it's going to test Sanji's philosophy to its absolute core. When Don Krieg, the man Sanji serves, shows up, will Sanji still believe that every hungry person deserves to be fed?
Before we get to what's coming next, let's touch on Oda's author comment for the week.
Right. He said, "I don't care if we get flack for this, but we're on a Yojo kick at the office." He was practicing the loop-the-loop.
I just love this. It's so perfectly mundane. While he's orchestrating this massive, dramatic naval confrontation between a pirate armada and a floating restaurant full of fighting cooks, laying the emotional groundwork for a new crewmate's tragic backstory, he's just playing with a yo-yo.
It's a nice reminder of the person behind the pages. It's easy to deify him, to see him as this mythic storyteller, but at the end of the day, he's just a guy in an office finding simple joys while creating this epic. It's oddly comforting.
It keeps him grounded, I bet. And now he's about to unground all of us with whatever he has planned next, because this chapter ends on the most ominous note possible. Don Krieg decides they're going to the Baratie, and you just know it's on.
The chapter ends there. The pieces are all in motion. Krieg knows where to go, Luffy is stuck at the Baratie, and Sanji has just been given a very confusing, very painful out by the man he respects most in the world.
Man, what a setup. Every single plot thread is converging on this one little restaurant. Zeff's past, Sanji's dream, Luffy's need for a cook, and now the wrath of the biggest pirate fleet in the East Blue.
It really feels like the East Blue is about to have its biggest battle yet. Everything before this, Buggy, Kuro, feels like a prelude. This is the main event.
It absolutely is, and we're going to break it all down. If you've got a theory about how the fighting cooks are going to handle a full-on invasion, drop it in the comments. We read every single one. Okay, Robin, predictions for Chapter 45. What do you have for me?
My first one is that we won't see Krieg's fleet arrive immediately. The last panel was the command, but there's travel time. I think the next chapter will focus on the emotional fallout of Zeff's words. Sanji is going to be reeling, probably angry and confused, and Luffy will try to understand what just happened, probably in his own blunt, simple way, which might make things worse before it makes them better.
Ooh, I like that. A character chapter before the storm hits. Let the emotional stakes settle in. My first prediction is that Nami is going to see the chaos and the incoming threat as the perfect cover. She's been biding her time. While everyone is distracted by Sanji's drama and the impending arrival of Krieg, she's going to try and make off with their ship. She'll see this as her best and maybe last chance to escape.
That feels very plausible. She's always looking for an exit strategy, and a full-scale naval battle is the ultimate distraction. For my second prediction, I think we're going to get the beginning of the Sanji and Zeff flashback. Zeff's comment, or perhaps a confrontation between them after he's told to leave, will trigger a memory for Sanji, and we'll start to see a glimpse of why he feels so indebted to the old man. We need to understand the weight of that "I can't" he told Luffy.
Yes, we need that backstory. The peg leg, how they met, all of it. Okay, my second prediction. I think Jin is going to have a moment of conflict. He's leading his crew there, but he's going to try and subtly warn the Baratie somehow. Or at least he'll try to get Krieg to show some mercy because of the kindness he was shown. He'll vouch for them. It won't work, of course, because Krieg doesn't seem like the merciful type, but Jin's conscience will compel him to try.
A test of his loyalty versus his newfound conscience. I like that. For my final prediction, I think Zeff will reveal that he knows who Luffy is. Not personally, but as a former pirate captain, he might recognize something. He'll see the straw hat, he might have heard the name Shanks, which Luffy has probably mentioned, and he'll connect the dots. He might realize what kind of person has just washed up at his restaurant. It will recontextualize why he's pushing Sanji towards him so forcefully. He might know Luffy is the real deal.
Whoa, okay, that would be a huge reveal. Zeff is someone who knows the players on the world stage. That adds another layer to his character. My final prediction is simple. The chapter will end with the first of Krieg's 50 ships appearing on the horizon. Not the whole fleet, just one ship, the massive wrecked galleon we just saw. Just one ship to establish the threat and give us that oh no moment heading into next week. A single scout ship that represents the thousands of men to come.
The tip of the spear. A perfect cliffhanger.
Exactly. But we'll have to wait and see. That's all the time we have for Chapter 45. This was a masterclass in setup, and the payoff is going to be explosive.
Join us next time as the storm makes landfall. Thanks for listening to Inherited Dawn.